Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us for Northern Ag TV, coming to you again from the Montana Farm Bureau Annual Convention in Missoula, and joined here by Nicole Rolf. And Nicole, we were talking a lot of the policy discussions that are happening here at the Farm Bureau Convention. What are some of the big topics that you've heard from county meetings that are coming up here now in the resolution session?
Well, we've got a wide variety of things that the delegates will be discussing in the next couple of days, but there are some big themes coming forward. We're going to have a lot of discussion surrounding energy, whether that's wind energy, some talk about solar, and also even a lot of discussion around data centers. And it's going to be really interesting to hear how the members all feel about that as a whole, where they settle down on, what we should expect for bonding, maybe things like heights of windmills, lighting, the considerations we need to make for power usage by data centers or water usage. We're going to have some really great discussions. They were, started in the county, like you mentioned, and we know that there's going to be a lot more for each farmers and rancher to learn from each other in other counties and come to a good agreement on where we should be on those things.
Well, I know those are big issues that a lot of people have thoughts on, curious to see how it shakes out, but more on the national front, we just saw some big news come out here this week on the Waters of the U.S. issue that, boy, it feels like you've been discussing that most of your career, but this is moving in the direction of Farm Bureau policy.
It sure does. It has been a long, hard-fought battle. We started out more than 10 years ago with efforts by Congress to expand the definition of what a navigable water is. Then we have fought back and forth with the EPA on their jurisdictional authority under the Clean Water Act. We have seen tightening of the rule, a very serious expansion of the rule. We've seen lawsuits, and really the Sackett decision from 2023 really helped kind of start bringing things back in line with what the Supreme Court sees as how we should be implementing that Waters of the U.S. regulation by having it follow the Clean Water Act and getting rid of the significant nexus test. And then they came back to the EPA and they said, you need to define a few other terms to give very clear rules on this. The previous administration failed to get that done. This current administration has put out a rule that we believe is going to really bring that regulatory environment back in line with what the law was intended to do, giving us some, as we like to say, clear rules and clean water. So we're encouraged by that. We've got 45-day comment period to go through it and really make sure that everything in there is what the law intends, but also gives the regulated community the opportunity to know exactly where we stand, and also so we can continue to utilize these really important natural resources, not just in our state, but across the whole country.
Well, that's been a big issue, like you said, for a long period of time. Another one that Montana Farm Bureau working with American Farm Bureau on is this public lands rule that came about in the previous administration, met pretty strong pushback in the West, and now American Farm Bureau is asking for that to have a long, hard look taken at and maybe repealed entirely.
We had a lot of concern with that. Basically, that rule that was finalized in 2023 would have really kind of eroded some of the current multiple uses on federal lands, especially grazing, and of course we're very concerned about that. So the Department of Interior's recent move to rescind that rule is very positive. We were very pleased to be able to offer supportive comments on that just last week, and we look forward to that being completely rescinded. They're also working on a new grazing rule. That hasn't been redone in 30 years, and farmers and ranchers have had the opportunity to offer a lot of input on this. I know they're in the works of getting that new rule out. A lot of that had to be paused during the government shutdown, but now that it's back open, we expect that rule to be published and hope to be able to offer more supportive comments on it as well. Everything we've seen so far seems to be really in line with what farmers and ranchers are looking for from that agency, and ways that we can continue to utilize these great federal lands and share them with everyone else in the country.
You bet. Well, a lot of folks may not know just how much of an expert Nicole is on the Farm Bill, working with the American Farm Bureau Working Group really since the last Farm Bill. It seems like you've been a part of that, and this one continues to drag on. We did see some positive movement on Farm Bill priorities this summer, but really it continues to be a waiting game to see that full 5-year renewal.
Absolutely. Yeah, we were very pleased to have a lot of our priority issues from the Farm Bill, a lot of the important programs from crop insurance and ARC and PLC and things like that, even some of the conservation programs be reauthorized through 2031 in the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. But you're right, there were still titles that were left out. And they did expire, of course, on September 30th. So there was a lot left in limbo, what we should expect with the reopening of the government. We have at least 1 more year of the Farm Bill was extended for 1 year, and we're going to need to figure out what to do. And we've been pushing to get a complete 5-year Farm Bill done since long before this one expired. We're going to have to really put the full court press on and get a good plan together for how we get a complete 5-year Farm Bill put together before this little extension expires again.
Well, those are just some of the issues that are being covered here at the Montana Farm Bureau Convention. But Nicole, appreciate your insight and your expertise. We'll be back with more Farm Bureau coverage throughout the week here, so stay tuned. For the Northern Ag Network, I'm Coulter Brown.